Hey everyone, Kansas City's two favorite things are football and trucks. For trucks, my advice is always go to Roberts Robinson Chevrolet Buick GMC in Excelsior Springs. Go online to robertsrobinson.com or check out their Facebook page. GMC, we are professional grade.
913-912-4810. Now, did you find out that Kaiser retired on your own, or was that from the tweets that came in?
There were tweets. There were texts.
Tweets and texts. Yeah. Okay, very good.
I got it from Lebo's text, but there were several on the text line.
How does Lebo know about Kaiser retiring?
Lebo texted you, too.
Well, I didn't have my phone near me.
So, yeah, there was lots of people letting me know that Nick Kaiser retired.
Also, Fred Arbanis passed away this spring. So
he did.
You've got that as well. So, also, one of my buddies just texted as well. I'm looking at this. Says Nick Kaiser retired. Yeah. So there you go.
A lot of people looking out for us. Apparently, we were not looking out for Nick Kaiser.
No, not at all. Or we weren't aware of anything involving Nick Kaiser.
We totally would have had some fun with that.
For sure.
Nick Kaiser.
Nick Kaiser retired. Why? We're so focused on Jody Fortson. You know what we do? We talk about the players that are there. Enough talk about the guys that aren't here. I'm tired of getting asked these questions about guys that haven't showed up, okay? Stop asking me about Adalberto Mondesi, okay? We talk about the 26 guys that are in this locker room right now. Anybody that's in this clubhouse, that's what I want to talk about. Not somebody that's down in the minors going through a rehab assignment and has a stiff oblique. I don't care about that guy. We discuss the guys that are here right now. 913-912-4810, First Mortgage Direct text line. We'll talk with Mick Schaefer coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. What did you see from Chris Jones?
So I saw when Chris Jones was at defensive tackle, he was a mauler again. Mm-hmm. There was a play where he got held so bad, they didn't throw a flag on it, but he got held so bad. The other play, obviously, where he got the sack. Those were both at defensive tackle. At defensive end, I saw the first play of the game where he completely ignored his assignment, tried to crash down on a running back, and Trey Lance bootlegged on him. Or was that? Yeah, it was Trey Lance. Or Garoppolo, I'm sorry, bootlegged on him. And it was like, whoa, Chris Jones, stay home.
Maybe that was his assignment. Maybe it was, Chris, you're gonna crash down.
I don't think so.
And linebacker, you're going to,
I don't think so, because if that's
scrape
the case,
over the top of Chris
Jimmy
Jones
G
and be there ready to go.
Was wide open on that bootleg. There was another play later, though, where he did stay home and caused the guy to run back inside. I can't remember who it was, but he did stay home, and you could tell he was he wanted to jump in there, but he was staying home, so he did a good job on that later in the game. I was literally watching Chris Jones every play when I was watching it live. I wasn't watching anything else, and I went back and watched to see what other guys were doing. But when the game started, when I was watching it live, I was literally just watching him every play on defense. And when he was at defensive end, except for the time that he did stay home, and I was like, okay, that was a good play by Chris Jones right there. The other times, a couple of them he got double-teamed, so that is drawing double coverage to allow somebody else freedom, so I get that. But there are other times where he was either handled easily, he didn't look like... It is the smallest sample size ever. I'm going to trust everybody who has been watching him at camp that says he's been terrorizing people. But in that game, in that small sample size, you saw the dominant defensive tackle and a guy at defensive end that made no impact.
And Trent Williams didn't play.
Yeah.
As well.
There's a backup offensive lineman.
Backup left tackle. They had 3 of the 5 starting offensive linemen starting for the 49ers. So when we talk about the defensive line, defensive tackles, interior, Chris Jones, the 49ers did have 3 of their 5 starting offensive linemen.
And McGlinchey, their right tackle, is their starter. So
McGlinchey,
when he was lined up on the other side.
And Tomlinson are their starters. They didn't have their starting center or left tackle in that game. The one thing I did like Chris Jones at defensive end is, and he's getting used to it, but there were a couple plays where he was able to chase down from behind when it went the opposite way to shed the blocker and run down the line of scrimmage and chase down. Now that only happens and works if those defensive linemen are keeping their responsibilities and setting the edge and not allowing that guy to get around. So when he cuts back, and Chris Jones was there a couple of times. There was also one play in which a tight end went to cut him, and he just skipped right over the tight end. And then because he's athletic enough to do that, obviously. But did you notice on the Chris Jones sack what the protection was for the 49ers? Did you see they double-teamed Jaron Reed and left Chris Jones one-on-one for whatever reason? And he just blew that guy up and went and got the sack. I don't know what Jaron Reed would have done if they would have double-teamed Chris Jones, but maybe Reed would have beat that guy one-on-one and then went and got maybe the sack, or maybe he pressures him, whatever. But that is an element of in obvious passing situations if you can slide Chris Jones down on the inside. And if you have somebody opposite Frank Clark, if that's Taco Charlton, if it's Okafor, didn't really see much from Kendo. Even if you're talking about obvious passing situations, it's like, well, this guy's so fast and is a freak. His get off is going to be, he'll be able to turn the corner. I didn't really see that from Kendo, which is fine. We'll see. It's game number 1 for a 4th-round pick. That's a project anyway, so I don't expect him to come out and look like Von Miller out of the gates. But if you have somebody that can rush the passer in obvious passing situations at defensive end and Chris Jones can slide down inside, now there's a real choice for that offensive line to make. Are you going to double-team Chris Jones, and then Jaron Reed can do the things that he's doing? Are you going to double-team Jaron Reed, and then Chris Jones destroys your right guard, for whatever reason you chose to go with that. Now, what also happened is that running back that was stepping up to help out had to deal with Daniel Sorensen. That was in the box and then blitzed. So the running back then goes and gets Sorensen, which does leave Chris Jones one-on-one. If that running back is in there to help protect and Jones beats the right guard, he might be there to help out a little bit, or Jones just might eat him on the way to the
just
quarterback.
Swallow him up on the way.
Yeah, like in the program when Latimer tore off the running back's helmet. Think you lost your bonnet? So he was running off the field. That might have been Chris Jones to the running back while he went and got the QB. So that was something that stuck out to me, is seeing Jaron Reed get double-teamed and leaving Chris Jones one-on-one. Mm-hmm. I don't know why you would do that. It seems exact. I'll take my chances with Jaron Reed one-on-one than I will with Chris Jones. There's no protection in the world that's going to leave Chris Jones one-on-one
now
and double-team Jaron Reed.
Think about this.
Or should be no
Maybe
protection.
You don't expect Chris Jones to be in the middle because they're switching him around. They're moving him from outside to inside.
Then adjust.
And so that's what I'm saying. You call a play in the huddle with a protection to go to double-team Jaron Reed, and then you get up there and somebody doesn't notice and they don't adjust and make an audible at the line of scrimmage to take that double-team off of Jaron Reed and switch it to Chris Jones. I don't know.
Yeah, so
there's always that possibility that they didn't expect him to be there, so that allowed that protection to be wrong. I don't know.
You got center left guard on Jaron Reed. At that point, you're like, you know what, center? Why don't you just play the left shoulder?
And there's a backup center in there, not their starter.
Why don't you play the left shoulder of Reed and get the help from the left guard, and therefore you can also slide down to Chris Jones to help out that right guard, so you're not just sitting there left guard and center on Jaron Reed and leaving the right guard, there to get burned.
Hey, and right guard gets a paycheck too.
That's right, and he is the starter. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not a backup. That's not a second or third teamer. The defense was a lot of reserves, a lot of backup guys. So when we talk about the offensive line, what they did, it's keeping into context and understanding that was the backup defense that was in there, but the offensive line can only do whatever they're asked to do against who they're going up against. So. I thought he looked fine. He's obviously a dominant defensive tackle. I thought he was okay out at defensive end. And Frank Clark didn't play. And, we'll see what Frank Clark ends up doing.
I will not make any judgments on one game.
Yep.
But in that one game, he was better at defensive tackle than he was defensive end. But let's see what happens when he gets a lot more snaps, a lot more chance to start to learn the guy. Because part of it is also, he's not as used to playing out there.
Yeah.
So give him some snaps to learn what that guy's strengths are. He probably knew nothing about the guy he was going against because it wasn't Trent Williams, where he could have maybe even watched some tape. Like, it's different. So I want to see when he gets I'm going to take people's word for it that he's been dominant in camp, and knowing how good a football player he is, I'm not going to sit here and poo-poo it and say, see, Chris Jones has to play in the middle. My gut has told me from the beginning you're taking a guy from a huge position of strength and moving him somewhere where I don't think he's going to be as effective.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make that judgment based on what we saw in a limited number of snaps in the first preseason game, though.
I mean, look, if they had another defensive end opposite Frank Clark, they wouldn't have to do it. Mm-hmm. But they're doing it because out of necessity. I mean, necessity is the mother of invention. Mm-hmm. So what are you going to do with Chris Jones? Let's move him out to the outside. We know he's got the versatility because they didn't bring somebody else in at that spot. The one guy that we haven't talked about that might be the most concerning coming out of the game, and it's one kick, but Butker missed another extra point. I mean, I just want to get to a point to where that's not an issue. And I can't remember who tweeted it out early in the game that Butker, his first extra point, went right inside the upright, and somebody said, cue the tweets of Butker's extra point was too close for comfort. And then he missed it, and then the next quote to it was like, Oops. Yeah, I mean, that's the same song. And that's concerning because it was, again, last year, it was all season long, it felt like. Well, I guess at the end he sort of figured it out. But it felt like it was just something all season long.
But he wasn't missing field goals.
Right.
It made no sense. There was something mental about, this is only worth 1 point, and it would get in his head. Yeah. I don't know.
The field goal from the exact same spot of what an extra point was is right down the middle. Mm-hmm. Extra points, he was hitting the uprights and missing them right and left from both sides. He's lining up on the right hash mark, the left hash mark in the middle of the field. He's trying all these different things to figure out the extra points, and he keeps missing them. Whereas field goals, he's knocking them through the uprights, including 50-yarders, and the 62-yard attempt was on target. It was just, a half or a yard short from 61, from, 61 and a half. It might have been good. And that was on target. But the extra point right off the uprights. And, both kickers missed an extra point in that game and hit the uprights. So it is, look, man, it's
a thing. He made it a thing last year.
Yep.
And now he comes out and misses one in the first preseason game. We don't want to make it a thing, but it's between his ears. Because he doesn't do it on field goals. Nope. It makes absolutely no sense why he gets in his own head for extra points.
He's a guy that can knock down threes but can't hit a free throw. Mm-hmm. It's like, no. The free throw's supposed to be the easy one. You're just banging three-pointers all over the place. Like it's a gimme. Like they're giving you the free throw. Just take it, man. What do you want to back up to the three-point at the top of the key? And, have the referee pass it to you like you're in the middle of an offense? Maybe
I wouldn't be opposed to him just missing a lot of them in the preseason, and Andy Reid saying, we're just going to start going for 2.
Well, that'd be fine, too.
Every touchdown, let's go for 2.
I'd be cool with that.
Chiefs will lead the league in scoring, I'll bet you.
I think they're going to lead the league in scoring anyway.
They could.
But they would do that if they're going to go for 2 as well. Because what do we think the Chiefs' success rate on 2-point conversions would be over the course of the season?
65?
It'd be better than 50%, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd be willing to bet, if the over-under were 64.5, I'd bet the over.
Yeah. I mean, if it's 50-50, it's just
if
even.
they went for it every time.
Yeah. I mean, if it's 50-50, it's even.
Yeah.
As opposed to when you miss an extra point. You can't get that point back. You miss a 2-point conversion. Next time you go and you get it, well, it's 1
And
mark.
I understand there's nuance there. Sometimes it makes sense to just kick the extra point because you're up 8, right? And you want to go up 9. And versus being up 8 and trying to go up 10 when really it's just about getting a 2-score lead to close out a game. I understand there's some nuance there, but right now, he made this an issue last year. We are not making it an issue. Harrison Butker made this the issue last year.
Chiefs are down 30-24. They score a touchdown. Corey's like, go for 2. Go for 2, man. Make it 32-30. Why would you need to kick the extra point here? It's 30-30. Go for 2 every time, man. You know what? If you've got principles of going for 2 every time, it's only a principle if you do it when it hurts. If you do it when it's tough. And when that 6 points ties the game at 30 and all you need is the extra point to win with no time left, are you a principled man or not?
There's some nuance, just like the high school coach that's now coaching in college that goes for every 4th down. He actually punts like 18% of the time because there are certain situations you just don't go for it on 4th down, but he has the rep of the guy who never punts. He actually does punt some. So you do kick the extra point sometimes. But I would love to see the Chiefs come out and go for 2, early in games, and suddenly it's like you're down. Chiefs come down, march it right down the field, and you go up 8-0. Oh, man. They're going to do that.
Remember when the Ravens did that or tried to do that against the Chiefs?
Tried, yeah.
And got stopped, and it's like, oh, there's a momentum turner. Not that would do that with the Chiefs anyway if they were to get stopped. Okay, well, they just, you expect to get it back there. But I do think they'll lead the league in points this year. Why wouldn't I? What other offense? Green Bay, could do that.
Weren't they like 5th last year?
They were. Yeah. They were first in 2019, maybe? 2018 they were.
2018 they definitely were, yeah.
So right around there. So, we'll see what ends up happening. And, look, I think a better offensive line. I think they'll be able to run the football. I think, teams, if they want to sit back and play the 2 deep safeties, that's a big part of the offensive line. We've talked about that since they started making these moves. In that goal-to-go situations, the Chiefs ranked 22nd. In the red zone, the Chiefs, struggled this past year. Short yardage situation, I'm not advocating for them to hand it off every single time. In 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 4th and 1, whatever, I'd like them to put the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands as well. Give him options to be able to, do some things. But if you need it, if you got to pick up a yard, it's nice to have an offensive line that looks like they could be some maulers. They were going up against the backup defense for the San Francisco 49ers, but it doesn't change the fact that these guys reputationally are, physical offensive linemen. And the running game is absolutely part of the reason that they brought these guys in. It's not just about protecting Mahomes. Super Bowl it was. Coming out of the Super Bowl, how do you keep Mahomes healthy? You get a brand new offensive line. You got to go out and improve. They signed Joe Thuney. They wanted Trent Williams. They trade for Orlando Brown. They draft Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. They get Lucas Niang back. They re-sign Mike Rimmers. They bring in Austin Blythe to gain depth. They've already got Allegretti and Wiley. So they've got these different pieces that are ready to go to establish that depth that's there. But it's not just about protecting Patrick Mahomes. It's about running the football and being able to pick up those short yardage situations, and they did that a couple of times against the 49ers. Against the 49ers backups. That's fine. But, we talked about it at the beginning of the show. Like, Zach Wilson had a pretty good debut for the Jets. People are excited about what they saw from Zach Wilson. Well, he's going up against the backups. Okay, that's fine. But what happens if he looked bad against the backups? Like, we're not talking about that with him or the Chiefs' offensive line. I thought Trey Lance looked good at times.
I enjoyed watching him.
Yeah, but then the grades come out and they're like, well, he had like 5 turnover-worthy plays and some.
He made some bad decisions. He was fun to watch, but he's got a long way to go.
Yep. I thought Trey Lance might start earlier in the season. I'm not as convinced of that. I am convinced Justin Fields might be starting game number 1. Convinced he might. Does that make sense? So if I'm convinced he might, is that like 82%?
I am 100% convinced
he's going to start week 1?
That Chad Henne might start week 1.
He was, because
you can't prove me wrong on that. You might.
Yeah.
He's going to make the roster.
Well, who was the worst graded quarterback for the Chiefs?
Patrick Mahomes.
That's right.
And who's the Browns killer? Chad Henne.
So the question would be, is there a quarterback controversy?
No, not yet.
What about Buechele?
Yeah, I think his receivers bailed him out a little.
Yeah, we don't want to get crazy. Let's not be absurd in talking about quarterbacks here. It's not Buechele. Yeah. It's about Henne or Mahomes.
It is.
Who starts week number 1?
Or Gordon.
The Browns. No.
Slinging it.
I think Gordon got that tip of the cap for being a San Francisco guy and playing there in San Francisco in that game.
Second highest rated quarterback in the game behind Buechele.
Out of everybody?
Oh, I didn't look at theirs. I assume Garoppolo
was number highest 1 at 102.
Because he didn't have an incompletion.
Trey Lance was number 2 out of all quarterbacks at 93.8, and then Buechele at 91.5.
It just goes to show you quarterback play really doesn't matter in the NFL. The 2 highest rated quarterbacks played for the losing team.
That's right. Not about quarterback play at all.
Not at all.
No.
I don't know what that's Seren Petro's full of crap. It's not about quarterback play.
The quarterback play? Are you kidding me?
Look at that.
Brad Johnson won a Super Bowl. You're going to tell me it's about quarterback play? Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. Now it's about quarterback play all of a sudden? Come on, people. Jim McMahon won a Super Bowl. Quarterback play. Get the hell out of here. Josh Rosen, essentially the same quarterback rating as Patrick Mahomes. Is Rosen the next Mahomes?
Numbers say so.
It's 10 of 15, 93
How about having
yards.
2 top 10 quarterbacks as your backups for the 49ers?
That is pretty good.
Trey Lance went 3rd. Josh Rosen went 10th.
Yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo, so good that 2 top 10 picks can't even get on the field over Jimmy G.
And Rosen with just an did Rosen think Did Rosen think Watts was on his team? That ball was so far overthrown.
He's worn so many jerseys. You got to give him some grace. He hasn't quite remembered what jersey he's throwing to.
Good point.
He doesn't really know.
Arizona, Miami, was it Carolina as well? Now San Francisco, so that's 4 teams. Did he have a different stop along the way?
Like, he hasn't even started his 3rd season yet, right? Or no, this will be his 4th.
Yeah, I thought it was odd. He played a month for the Orlando Magic, too. Just odd, just out of nowhere that Rosen's just bouncing around from team to team. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. What did Mike Matheny say about Adalberto Mondesi? We'll hear from him in pregame yesterday when the news about Mondesi getting recalled with some tightness in his oblique.
You forgot about the Tampa Bay Bucks. He was part of their,
that's right.
He was part of their practice squad. So
he moved. So he went from the West Coast in Arizona to Miami to Tampa to Carolina, right?
Not Carolina.
Okay, so it was just Tampa.
To the 49ers.
Okay, so there was no Carolina. So it was Tampa instead of Carolina.
But he was second team All Pac-12 once.
Well, there you go. I mean,
he's got that going for him. They can never take that away.
Which is nice. He's also got skinny shoulders. I don't know what that is. He's got a very, very skinny frame. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back, and we'll continue rolling. We'll talk with Mick Schaefer coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. He's there in St. Joe. We'll get all of his assessments, the breakdowns, the hip turns, the drop steps, and the fundamentals that he's seeing in the footwork of all these different players. We'll get Learn Funniest Best as well. More Zone rolling along next.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Wash your hands, wash your butt, man. That's it. That's all. That's what I tell you.
On Sports Radio 810.
That's what I tell everybody. Those are two things you got to make sure you keep those clean. We'll be all right.
913-912-4810, First Mortgage Direct text line. The text says the PAT team needs to have an intentional penalty to move it back to a better, quote, field goal range every time until teams start declining the penalty. Do they make it a 38-yard?
I think it's the 1 point versus 3 point thing.
But what if it's 38 yards instead of 33?
I don't know. He kicks his field goals from 33 yards just fine.
You would think. I don't know. Might be in his head. 33 yards. It does that. It's the double number. 22-yard field goals, 44, 55, 66, 11. I don't know. 11-yard field goals.
Not possible.
What? Why can't he kick from the 1 yard line? It's ridiculous.
They're snapping it from 7 yards deep in the end zone.
Snapping it. That's right. I feel like they've scored a touchdown. Now they're settling for the field goal right here.
Another text comes in and says, I'm with you. The missed extra point was one thing, but that missed field goal in the first half is unacceptable.
Agreed.
Perfect snap, perfect hold, and he just blew it.
Agreed.
I replied to that and said, it was 62 yards. And the texter says, no excuse.
I like that text. No excuses. No excuses. All right? Put it between the uprights, but it's got to go over it as well. Ridiculous,
He
man.
thought he made it. He thought he had it there.
Yes.
You could tell by he was like, oh, it fell just short.
Text says, did Shane leave the company?
He did not.
No, he's got 15 different jobs, and so he's working one of them. Different jobs within the office here.
Yes.
So he's working one of them. Drake hanging out with us.
Drake actually has like 15 different jobs.
What?
Shane has 2. But Shane's other job has taken him away because there's been a lot of training that Shane has had to be going through. So Drake, with all the jobs, is filling in for Shane with 2 jobs.
If anybody needs training, it's Shane.
It is.
That's a good point.
It is.
I do like how every meeting, it's like, sorry, guys, I got a meeting. It starts at 10 today. Oh, yeah, that doesn't interrupt at all what your other...
Today's is from 9 to 4. It's a hell of a meeting.
Good for him, man.
He's not even responding to texts.
Wow.
I sent him a text, and I had to walk back to his desk to go ask him something during one of the commercial breaks. I'm like, did you see my text? And he's like, oh, no. And then his phone wasn't even within reach.
How about that?
He's completely abandoned us.
Shane hasn't texted during the show either. So
no, he usually texts 17 times.
I like yesterday at 12:11, he sent us a text about Mike Matheny and Adalberto Mondesi, and an hour before that, I had already been tweeting about it. I thought that was fun. I'm like, yo, you saw those tweets, but not my tweet. Why don't you have notifications on for when I tweet, guy? No, but I do appreciate him. He sends us texts on updates and things all the time, so you know he's busy today since he has not sent us a text at anything. But he did send us the text about the tweet about Mike Matheny saying that they have recalled Adalberto Mondesi. That's right. He's been recalled from his rehab assignment.
Back in Kansas City.
There you go. Ready to go tonight. Put him at short. Oh, what's that?
Recalled him to the training room.
Oh. Well, good thing he knows exactly where that is.
Yes.
They don't need to explain where that is. Yeah, that's right. Actually, the trainer just lives with him in his apartment. He's got his own trainer that just hangs out with him. He's got an MRI machine and an X-ray machine in his apartment with him. Makes it very convenient for him. So the Royals bring Adalberto Mondesi back from AAA because he's got the stiffness, the tightness in his oblique. Mike Matheny, before the game yesterday, was asked, have they thought about shutting Adalberto Mondesi down for the season?
That hasn't been talked about, but I think this is one of those we've made so much progression. When you have a little bit of a setback, let's not just keep pushing to where you have to go back to square one. Is there something we can do here? 1, for peace of mind for the player, 2, for peace of mind of the organization, get a closer look, get the doctors get their hands on him and really see without having to go through other channels at the AAA level. Get him in here. Let's take a look. make sure where we are, and then put our game plan for moving forward. But nothing's been talked about any more than that.
I don't believe that for a second, by the way. I don't believe it for a second that not once somebody has said, hey, should we examine shutting him down for the season? Hasn't even been brought up at all? Like, nobody has said that at all? Well, then you're doing a disservice. Of course you would wonder if you need to shut him down for the season. If he has to come back from a rehab assignment in which he only played in 5 games over an 8-game span or 8-day span, and he got injured in one of them. He got injured in the 5th game, and then he's missed the last 5 games down in Omaha or up in Omaha. Is it down or up? It's down for
over.
It's up geographically, but it's down in terms of Major League. So
over.
Middle.
Yonder in Omaha.
That's exactly right. So he's down in Omaha, and he's missing games. They're playing him every other day. Remember, J.J. Picollo was talking about, you got to figure out this may not be a guy that can play 162. So you got to figure out, get him some days off, load management for this guy. So you're already planning days off for him. He played the 3rd, got the 4th off. Played the 5th, played the 6th, got the 7th off. Played the 8th, got the 9th off. Played the 10th, got injured. He has played 23 total games this year at the major league level and the minor league level, and he's left 3 of them injured. He's played 20 games this year total in which he hasn't been injured. It's 20.
How'd he ever get 20
games in without being injured? And when you hear Mike Matheny, and it's the same beat. It's the same thing we've been talking about. It's just now it's becoming laughable. Now it's becoming just a joke with him getting injured yet again. I didn't expect him to get injured on his rehab assignment. I thought he'd come up to the big league club, play a couple of games, leave the game for, quote, precautionary reasons, and then be placed on the IL yet again. So now can you move him to the 60? And just call it a season, man. And therefore, you don't have to worry about what you're going to do moving forward. He has given you the answer. You don't have to figure it out. He is telling you himself. He's not your shortstop. It's done. If Mike Matheny is saying, we've got to figure out what can give peace of mind to the player and the organization, peace of mind to the organization is that he's no longer your shortstop. There you go. You've got peace of mind. You've got a top 5 prospect waiting to come up in all of baseball that plays that position that he plays and is injured all the time. He has given you that peace of mind. Bobby Witt has given you peace of mind as an organization. Maybe it's peace of mind for Mondesi, too, that we're not relying on you being the most important defensive position and a guy that's a bat that's going to be in the middle of our lineup to save the franchise. Bobby Witt's now got that expectation, and guess what? He plays every day. So here's your peace of mind. Mondesi's not your shortstop anymore. There you go. Figure out where you use him, what can be the best possible place for him, but you don't have to worry about a rotating and revolving door at the most important or second most, if you want to say catcher, defensive position on the field and shortstop.
And we'll see what they do when they start spring training next year. At this point, I'm assuming Mondesi's done. Do they start working him in the outfield from the offseason as opposed to not wanting to make a change in the middle of the season, and that's why they were moving Bobby Witt over to third? Or are they still going to keep running him out there at shortstop? Because they're not moving him. He's not going anywhere. They've proven that. They're not trading him. He's going to be a part of their plans going forward. And are those plans for him to still be at shortstop when spring training rolls around next year? Will they try to put him in winter ball somewhere? I don't know. But
no, you get him injured.
What will they do? I will give them a pass on not putting him in center field when he was doing his rehab assignment, like the Padres have done with Fernando Tatis. If it was just, look, we'll address that in the offseason so that he has a full offseason to get ready for it, sure. But my guess is they just run him right back out at shortstop next year, and Bobby Witt Jr. is playing third, and that's the way it goes. And then Mondesi continues to get hurt, and Bobby Witt Jr. just bounces back and forth.
Well, it's good that you can keep Witt at shortstop now for the rest of this year, it seems like.
Yeah.
Just let him play shortstop, man. Leave Bobby alone. Just let him be. Put him at shortstop and figure something else out with Mondesi. Because, again, Mondesi is arbitration eligible, right? Going in, so he's got, 2-3 years left of control for the Royals, whereas Bobby Witt Jr. has not made his debut with the big league club, so he's got 6, maybe 7, depending on if they bring him up this year or if they play the service time game next year. He's got 6/7. So at minimum, he's got a couple of more years of eligibility of team control than Mondesi does. So why are you going to move him around for a guy that's not going to be a part of your team as long? Now, the one caveat I will throw out there, the one thing I will bring up is he's a bigger guy already, and they do expect that his body will continue to add weight. So is he going to get big enough to where he moves over to third just because of the size of him? Like A-Rod eventually moved over to third and wasn't a shortstop as he got bigger and bigger. I don't think Bobby Witt's taking steroids, but if his body continues to put on weight, because he's already put on a decent amount of weight since he was drafted, and his body's only going to continue to develop as a 20, 21-year-old now over the next 2 or 3, 4 years. So what happens then? Is that part of their plan in saying, well, Mondesi's Mondesi. That's his body. That's what he's going to look like. He's a shortstop. Witt might build himself into a third baseman. I don't know.
And there's the whole conversation of this team is probably better. Not probably. I think it is better if Mondesi's your shortstop and Bobby Witt Jr. is your third baseman. If Mondesi can stay healthy. Yeah. And so that's the thing. Dayton Moore and J.J. Piccolo and the whole organization has to be like, yeah, but if we just have both of those guys for 160 games a season, right, we're a better team.
Zero chance, though.
But
there's no if anymore.
Continues to show you year after year after year that you can't count on that.
But the if is gone. At the beginning of this year, it was if he can stay healthy because he played 59 of 60 games last year, and the only game he missed was because he got benched for lack of production. Mm-hmm. He didn't miss it because of injury. It was only 60 games, but it was all we had to go off of at that point. It's like, okay, and look how we ended the season. And you know what? He didn't get injured. So this year, it's like, man, if he can stay healthy and if he can play the way, not the entire season the way he did that last month, but be, closer to that level for an entire season, that if is out the window. Not the consistency part of it, but the injury part of it. Mm-hmm. There's no longer if he can stay healthy. We know he can't. So what now? And especially when it's the oblique. Like Fernando Tatis, they've moved him to the outfield. He played right field last night. They're worried about his shoulder. Okay, so the shoulder got injured by swinging. Nothing you can do in defensive position for that. Shoulder got injured sliding into third. Nothing you can do in defensive position with that. But he also hurt his shoulder twice diving at shortstop. Well, something you can do with that. It's not the soft tissue injury constantly to where what position are you going to play that's going to protect you from the oblique. And, oh, by the way, you got to swing a bat. So his oblique has been an issue all season. From the first day of the regular season, or I guess the last day of spring training when he hurt that oblique, to now. There's no place you can put him that will protect him from his oblique. Or both obliques and hamstrings too. That's the issue. Did he did he lift weights to the point to where he now can't be a guy that, soft tissue problems are going to be there with obliques and hamstrings? Because he's clearly put on weight and put on muscle since he's been in the big leagues. Maybe that was natural. I don't know. Or is he a guy that just simply can't play through the pain? Is he a guy that doesn't know the difference between being hurt or injured, of something being stiff or something being injured? Or are they taking it so precautious with him that they have told him, hey, if you feel any little thing at all, you let us know. Okay, hey, I woke up and my oblique was a little tight. All right, boom, get the hell out of Omaha, come back here. We're doing MRIs. We're gonna operate on it. We're gonna actually do an oblique transplant. He feels just a little bit of stiffness in that oblique.
Oblique transplant.
We got to figure this whole thing out for Adalberto Mondesi here. I don't know, but I think that's got to be asked. Are his obliques that weak that he keeps having injuries? What's his stretching issue?
I think that's a big
conditioning.
There are certain guys that they need like an hour to 2 hour pregame ritual of being out there and stretching. Like, if you stretch good enough, you shouldn't have this many problems.
I have no idea, man.
He needs to be doing, maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but he needs to be doing yoga and Pilates and stuff to work on flexibility and getting his muscle. Clearly he doesn't do something right, because there's enough other guys that don't get hurt all the time because their bodies are able to withstand it more. If he was like brittle, I understand, but these are just muscles, and if they're stretched or if they're properly trained and properly conditioned, they should be able to hold up, because we see other guys do it all the time.
Yeah, there's 25 other guys or 26 other guys with the Royals this year that haven't been going through oblique problems all year long. There's Whit Merrifield that broke the Royals' consecutive games played streak that hasn't had to deal with obliques. Another shortstop in Escobar that didn't have to deal with obliques. It's an injury that is a tricky one in baseball. It sucks because that's one that lingers. When that first happened and they were talking about a couple, 3 weeks with Mondesi, we talked about it at the time. There was no way. There was no way he was going to miss less than a month. With an oblique, Major League Baseball, those things linger. And now both obliques, hamstrings. When Mike Matheny says peace of mind for the player and the organization, what's he mean by that?
I don't know what peace of mind you need to give Adalberto Mondesi. I mean, hell, you've babied him every step of the way. What else could you do for his peace of mind?
Yep.
He's been the golden child.
The Royals are in an advantageous position in that it sucks that one of their star players is often injured, but they're in an enviable position in that they've got one of the best players in the minor leagues that plays that exact position that can come up and play and just take that spot. It'd be different if they had no shortstop in the organization and it was, without Mondesi, Nicky Lopez is your shortstop moving forward. You have to have Mondesi be healthy. You are relying, if you're going to win a division, Mondesi has to be healthy. Not with Bobby Witt there. Now you need to figure out third. Because you felt like you had it figured out with Mondesi at short, Bobby Witt at third, Nick Pratto at first. You can throw Nicky Lopez at second. Maybe Whit Merrifield in the outfield and right field. Who knows? Maybe in center field. I don't know. Figure that part out.
Maybe Witt's at second and Nicky's your utility guy.
Absolutely. Nicky Lopez can play, second or shortstop. Just play up the middle if need be. Because you're going to have to give Mondesi a number of days off. Mm-hmm. So when he's off, do you then move Bobby Witt down to short and bring in another third baseman, or do you leave Bobby Witt at third and you have Nicky Lopez play shortstop and leave Whit Merrifield at second? Who knows what the deal is there? But that's no longer the case. That can no longer be the plan. That plan is out the window. It
can be.
No, it can't. It can't.
It can just be a poor plan, but it can be a plan.
Hope is not a plan. It is not a strategy, and that's what they have been doing. That's what they have been doing with Mondesi. They hope he can stay healthy. He cannot. The if he can stay healthy is out the window. He cannot stay healthy. They need to make the move and let everybody know that their shortstop is Bobby Witt Jr. Mondesi, you'll figure out a different position. I don't care where that position is, but figure it out, because right now that position is the IL. Right now that position is on the training table in the MRI. That's the position that Mondesi is taking at this point. Leave Bobby Witt at short, call it a day. The Royals have an answer there. So don't continue to make it a question. Leave it as the answer. We'll continue rolling along. We'll talk with Mick Schaefer coming up at 1 o'clock. He is in St. Joe at training camp. We got more Zone next.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Certificate of authenticity from Beckett. Beckett has authentified this.
They authentified it.
And this has been authenticated?
Jersey.
This has been Beckett authenticated.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Corey Anderson?
No, not Corey Anderson. That guy's an idiot.
Text at 913-912-4810. First Mortgage Direct text line says, I tweaked my oblique throwing my phone after reading the status. Yeah, so did he. So he might have tweaked his oblique opening up the door to the Uber to drive down to KC when he was recalled from his rehab assignment. 913-912-4810. Text says, maybe Mondesi thinks he's playing football. 20 games is a full season. Yeah, that's right. Maybe that's it. Maybe he should play football.
I don't feel like he'd hold up very well in football.
He's fine. You don't need obliques in football. Who's got obliques? Name one player that uses an oblique in football.
Shane Buechele.
Name two, then. 913-912-4810. In the name, or in the words of the great coach Dick Vermeil, it's time to take the diapers off and play ball. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think you have to ask the question with that. Is he just somebody that doesn't have pain tolerance or can't play through it, or has been coddled his entire life? Like, is he really, honestly, this injury prone, or is he just not willing to play through stuff? I don't know how tough the guy is. No idea. He doesn't seem very tough.
No, sure doesn't. No doubt about that. He's no Tommy Townsend, I'll tell you that.
Tex says Mondesi is hurt so much that Sammy Watkins is blushing. Sammy Watkins is like, that guy's never on the field. That Mondesi guy, what's his problem, man? Guy's never, ever out there. Tex says Stephen St. John was correct when he said Mondesi's future with the Royals looks oblique. Yeah, it does. That's true. They're Royals really hamstrung in the decision they have to make at shortstop with this team. So those are the only two things that are out there. So you got any, Corey?
I don't think so.
Drake, you got one?
I don't think he can shoulder the load that it takes to play Major League shortstop.
Nice.
It's putting a strain on the organization.
Yes. Love it. 913-912-4810. Texas George Costanza would have asked for an oblique transplant from the Royals or from the Yankees. Yeah, he would have. That's true. All right, 913-912-4810. First Mortgage Direct text line.
If I had an oblique, I'd donate it to him.
I mean, right? You can use my oblique. It's like when Mahomes went down against the Broncos and the QB
take
sneak.
My knee.
No, you can have my kneecap. I don't need it. I don't need either. You can take both of them. I do not need either of these kneecaps. I get nothing out of my knees. Nothing at all. I don't use them ever, man. 913-912-4810. First Mortgage Direct text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. We'll talk with Mick Schaefer, who's up at training camp in St. Joe today. I wanted to bring up something else with the Chiefs and Mike Hughes. I liked the no F's to give on the kickoff return. I enjoyed that part of it with Mike Hughes. I don't know that I want to see Mike Hughes return kicks.
No?
I don't.
I loved it.
I loved it.
He was so aggressive.
I loved
now,
it.
that's the way Pringle was last year, too.
Right, I loved it. Here's my point. Here's the issue. The reason the Chiefs have Mike Hughes is because he couldn't stay healthy with the Vikings.
Yeah.
So do we want to see this team expose him to more plays that could cause injury when he's starting for your team right now at cornerback? When you've got McCole Hardman and you've got Byron Pringle, like you've got some guys that can return kicks. So I'd rather Byron Pringle be out there and return some kicks. Baker looked awesome. So it's not like, well, without Mike Hughes, then who's there? But imagine if Mike Hughes and Baker are both pretty good and you hit on both of them. Because, again, Baker looked good in the game. 6 targets in his direction, 0 of 6 passing. And there were 4 pass breakups by the Chiefs in the game. Baker had 2 of the 4.
And he looked really good, and I know it was just one game before he got hurt against the Chargers.
That's right.
He looked really good in that. Like, he was making an impact. You're like, oh, this guy might be something.
Yep, and then he goes down, and then the cart comes out, and you're like, oh, no, he broke his femur? Mm-hmm. Who breaks it? Oh, don't worry, it was a clean break. It's fine. To you, it's a clean. How about DeAndre Baker sitting there going,
cool, it's a clean break.
It's a clean break of my femur, so it's fine. Hey, coach, you see me here? I'm in a full leg cast right now, okay? It's the, it's a major award. It's the Christmas Story lamp there, this full leg cast right now. No, but he looked good, and Mike Hughes looked good, and he was pretty physical. He graded low in Pro Football Focus, did Mike Hughes, because they graded the 80-yard touchdown. That counted against Mike Hughes and not Devin Key. So Devin Key's grades were okay, even though that 80-yard touchdown, Andy Reid talked about Devin Key being the guy that got beat on the double move, but that went to Mike Hughes' grade.
I mean, he got beat too. But
he absolutely did.
Yeah.
But
he didn't get his safety help.
Yeah. Can you count it for both?
Yeah.
Like, couldn't both of them be counted in that, or is that something in the formula that needs adjusting? I don't know. Again, it's just one data point from Pro Football Focus, but Mike Hughes looked good, and I want the Chiefs to get something out of him, to hit on a guy that was a first-round draft pick and had the talent there, who obviously one of the things that he does well is in the return game. He's pretty good, kickoff and punt return. He looks shifty and fast, and he was aggressive, and I liked it. I'm like, okay,
decisive. I loved it.
Liked what I saw from Mike Hughes. Good to know he's got that ability. Now put his ass at cornerback and leave him alone. Because I like what I see from Byron Pringle. Mm-hmm. And if Pringle were to go down, I don't hope that happens. Obviously, I don't want that to be the case. But if he were to go down, I feel like there's more depth at the wide receiver position that you can get by when you've got Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, as a tight end, but 2 guys that are main targets that are there.
Don't forget Cornell Powell.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Number 3 target, for sure.
It's my guy.
But Hardman, you can figure out ways to get him the ball. If you want to, include, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, whether it's Noah Gray or whoever, Fortson. But the cornerback position, you've got Charvarius Ward and L'Jarius Sneed. And Fenton looks good, too. But they clearly want something from Hughes and Baker. If they get that, how good the team could be if you can maximize first-round potentials just by signing somebody as a free agent or giving up, a 6th rounder for Mike Hughes or a 7th rounder, whatever it was. Like, you gave up one late-round draft pick to get those 2 guys that are first-rounders. I mean, throw in the fact that Trey Smith should have been a 2nd rounder. Like, you got some extra high value. You got 2 first-round draft picks at cornerbacks. You've got 2 second-rounders on your offensive line in Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. And, Lucas Niang was even thought about being, late first or a 2nd round because of injury. That if he's healthy, you got another guy that you didn't have to spend the draft capital to get that guy that had he been healthy, you would not have had a chance to draft him. That's how you're able to build a team and afford some of the bigger stars that are there. So I don't want to see Mike Hughes returning kicks. I like that he's got the ability. I like that there's somebody else in the mix, but I'll take Byron Pringle. He makes Shane Timber.
I'm good with that. If they want to put Pringle back there. I don't want McCole Hardman returning
I don't either.
Punts, kicks.
Well, I think he'll return punts.
I don't want him there.
The unofficial depth chart had McCole Hardman at both kickoff and punt.
I'm just telling you, don't want Mike Hughes there? I don't want McCole Hardman there.
Yeah, but
not because I'm worried about losing him on offense.
Yeah, I don't want Mike
I'm worried about him fumbling.
Yeah, I don't want Mike Hughes there because I don't want him to get injured.
Yeah, I don't want McCole Hardman there because I don't want him to fumble.
Yeah. Or let the punt drop.
Yeah. I don't see it with him. Like, we'll see.
Just put somebody back there to return punts that just catches it.
I like Pringle doing both.
Calls for a fair catch and catches the ball and gives it to Mahomes in the offense.
Pringle, much like Mike Hughes, is aggressive. He sees a gap and just hits it. He does not wait around, dance around, trying to turn everything into an 80-yard touchdown. Mm-hmm. He will take it because he knows that getting 12 yards on a return as opposed to 2 is 10 less yards that the offense has to go. Like, he is willing to just get a good return, not trying to take everything to the house.
Yeah, and I'm good with that. I just, again, we talked about this last year. Punt returner, give me somebody back there that calls a fair catch, can catch it, and gets the ball back to the offense. That's it. Can he judge the punt to where he lets it go over his head and it bounces into the end zone, when to catch it, when to let it go, don't fumble. I don't need you returning punts. I'll take my chances with the Chiefs offense. Just make sure they get the ball. That's it. When the other team, when that punt is away and they are not going for it on 4th down or they are not faking the punt, when that ball hits the foot of the punter, number one priority, make sure Mahomes gets to run out there with the offense.
Get the ball to Patrick.
Exactly right. 913-912-4810. Text says, look what Pringle did at K-State. Enough said. Yeah, look what he did last year. I mean, he returned a kick last year. I mean, I'm good with him doing that. And maybe they're taking a little bit of that away from him because they feel like he's going to be more involved in the offense. I don't know. But I would guess that Mike Hughes is going to be more involved defensively if he's your starting cornerback than Pringle would be offensively. I mean, I would take my chances with that, unless Hughes is starting right now on defense because Baker isn't up to full speed.
Baker's the guy that
move.
I'm more excited about on defense.
Yeah.
But
he looked good.
I really liked Hughes returning kicks.
Yeah. I liked them both. Hughes was physical, man. He was willing to come up and hit you and come against the run, too. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Mick Schaefer's hanging out in St. Joe Chiefs training camp. More Zone rolling along next.